Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of This Week in NACS, where we are here to tell the stories of our scene. We are trying to spotlight the players, teams, and tournaments that make North American Counter-Strike special week by week. This week, we've got some awesome stories covering Getting Info's statement win, some shakeups in who's on top in ESL Impact, and Twistzz coming alive in EPL with his return to the Faze roster. So grab your coffee, buckle up, and let's talk Counter-Strike. Coming up first, I would like to cover the Getting Info and Phoenix match at the CCT Grand Final. Let me get this pulled up here. I'm going to try to get some visuals going. So this was Getting Info versus Phoenix, formerly known as Chicken Coop. It looks like HLTV has not fully updated this yet. But first, let's just talk about the grand final performance from Getting Info. Now, I was very skeptical that this team would be as strong in this tournament after they lost Marky, their star opener, who left for Skinrave last week. But good lord, did I have nothing to worry about. Getting Info is looking sharp and dominant. Carson, who spells his name backwards as Nosrak, but we'll be calling him Carson for simplicity. Carson has slotted perfectly back into this team, and they had a dominant run through the entire tournament. You can see here, it's just 2-0, 2-0, 2-1. This was an incredible performance from them. Phoenix x Chicken Coop was not without signs of hope, as they did take the first map of Nuke 13-10, but Getting Info answered back with a dominant 13-4 victory on Ancient and a 13-8 victory on Dust 2, taking the entire series 2-1. This was a statement game for Getting Info. They went up on the VRS ranks. I think they went up 9 slots on the VRS ranks off of this tournament win. So that is huge. I'd like to spotlight some of the players as well. Shane and Carson, especially. Shane and Carson so Carson is new, but they are the opener-closer duo for Getting Info, and they absolutely dominated this tournament, putting up 1.44 rating for Shane and a 1.4 rating for Carson in the grand final, respectively. I'd also like to shout out Snav, who turned up as his reputation as a top NA IGL continues to grow. The casters were rightfully buzzing in this tournament about Snav's calling, especially on Ancient, where they just dominated. I mean, this is deflating if you're ex-Chicken Coop Phoenix. 13-4 win on Ancient is just powerful stuff. Bottom line, after a dominant performance at CCT Americas, Getting Info is victorious in the grand final and definitely marks themselves as a team to keep an eye on. And they're going to be coming up again later in the podcast as well. But moving along, ESL Cup 3 is up next. And as always, ESL is a brawl of NA chaotic goodness. So ESL, while we have it open here, right? ESL leads into the ESL Pro League that just went on with the Tier 1 teams. So winning these series of tournaments, winning these series of tournaments gives the teams a chance to qualify as sort of like the wild card pick into that big tournament. So this is a really, really big deal for teams. Okay, here we go. So there's a lot that goes on in these tournaments. This tournament is still underway, but the semifinals are set, and what I want to do is sort of spotlight both of these upcoming semifinal matches in the upper bracket. The first I want to spotlight is Wildcard versus Marsborn, which is basically a rematch of last tournament's grand final. Both these teams are coming into this tournament hungry, but Marsborn has a lot more to prove coming in as the underdog, trying to show that they're ready to make the jump up. I will be rooting for Marsborn in this game. I think Wildcard has been a little shaky, and I'd like to see Marsborn sort of throw the upset at them. On the other end of these semifinals, we have Skinrave versus Getting Info. Now, listen, whenever two teams make changes, the question on everybody's mind is who came out on top, right? Good coffee. Who came out on top? That's what everybody wants to know. Getting Info lost their star opener Marky to Skinrave, but they replaced Marky with Carson, and that is not a bad grab there, and they've been looking incredible with Carson. So the question is, which team came out better? Skinrave stole Marky. Getting Info got Carson. So let's find out. I mean, whether it's true long term or not, this match gives us the head-to-head satisfaction of which team came out on top in these trades. Is Getting Info better off without Marky, or did he jump the ship to the better team? Fight it out. Let's get the answer. ESL is kicking off with a bang, and the favorites are already going strong and set to clash. My prediction is that Getting Info beats Skinrave, and Marsborn are going to upset Wildcard. Next, I want to move over to the ESL Impact League. Let me get that pulled up for everybody over here. Help follow along a little bit. There we go. We got ESL Impact going. So we finally had the first of our top 3 teams catch a loss this week. Shimmer handed Nocturnal a clean defeat 2-0 to show that they are still the top dogs right now. Nocturnal put up a fight on Ancient, but by Dust 2, they look completely out of it. Despite the loss, Rainy still looks strong, putting up strong performances across both maps and asserting that there is still more for this team to give. It's not over for Nocturnal. They're still the 3rd highest ranked, but the undefeated streak comes to an end as Shimmer does sort of put their foot down here. On the other game, with the undefeateds, FlyQuest also handed a loss to Lotus, so FlyQuest Red remains undefeated, which is not super surprising. Map 1 did go to overtime, and Map 2 was close, but FlyQuest was just too much to handle here. This week, coming up in ESL, I would highly recommend checking out Ghost Gaming vs Lotus, as both teams fight to get closer to that top 2 slot. I'll be rooting for Ghost Gaming in this one. They've definitely won me over as a fan, and you can catch this game on HLTV coming up on Wednesday. So tomorrow at 7:30. All these times are in Eastern. As a reminder, they are in Eastern. So this is coming up at 7:30 tomorrow. Bottom line, ESL Impact, Nocturnal get knocked down a peg, while FlyQuest and Shimmer continue their undefeated streak. And don't forget to check out Ghost Gaming vs Lotus tomorrow night at 7:30. Now that we have covered more of these online local tournaments, it is time to go to the big boys. This takes us, of course, to ESL Pro League Season 22. This was rough. This was challenging for me. So many conflicting feelings, y'all. But let's do this. Let's dive in. Let's start with the good news and the best news. Faze made the playoffs. How, you might ask? Great question. No one really knows, apparently. Somehow Faze reverse swept their way into the playoffs. Let's get this pulled up here. Here's the group stage, right? Faze reverse swept their way into the playoffs after playing every single match on elimination. Ridiculous. They took down Aurora, a legit top 10 roster, in the final match to finally qualify for the playoffs. And Aurora is not a team you expect to drop a match here, but Faze is a special team. Yeah, Faze is a very special team. I can't think of a single tier 1 org that has the aura that Faze has, even if they're like the lowest ranked team in a tournament and forfeit the first match like they did in this one without even playing. They just catch an L. They're still scary. You still feel like they can go on a run and ruin someone's day, which they do. Aurora is a tier 1, top 10, top 5 maybe right now team. Ridiculous. And then qualifying for the playoffs as if this wasn't enough, right? And before we move on, let's also just spotlight here. Look at this. Faze win 13-8 on Mirage, right? So pretty close. Aurora win 13-2 on Train, and then Faze win 13-10 on Dust. Faze was outplayed by Aurora. Aurora won more maps than Faze won, and somehow Faze win the game. Our best player is a 1.13, 1.07, 1.04. Aurora, Yoda put up a 1.55, and Xantares, the GOAT, dropped a 1.36 on us. They won more rounds than we won, and somehow we take the game. That's some NA bullshit right there, and we need it. We love it. Moving on to the playoffs, as if that wasn't enough, we take down Team Spirit next. The favorites to win the whole event, Team Spirit. Yes, that Team Spirit. That's insane. Frozen, Twistzz, and Brokey all dominated this match. We win 2-0 with a 13-9 win on Nuke and then a 13-5 win on Mirage. The firepower upgrade of getting Twistzz back into this roster has been incredible. Now, sadly, we did lose the next match to Vitality, but hey, shit happens. Sorry. Text from Cat Kiwi. She's got jokes, y'all. She's got jokes. She's out taking the car in right now to the car shop. Anyway, we lost the next match to Vitality. It is what it is. Vitality did go on to win this whole tournament, so let's not beat ourselves up too much over the loss. We still made it to the semifinals with this hodgepodge situation. This is not the worst loss ever. Twistzz popping off is good. This is, dude, we're fine. We're fine. Overall, we're fine. We're happy. Things look good for Faze after this tournament. We are happy with this tournament result for Faze. But we still need to see how this roster fleshes out once Rain is back on the bench and Jacob is in. Will Jacob get moved to some of Rain's anchor positions with Twistzz slotting in as more of an opener, or will Frozen and Twistzz remain extremity players while Jacob continues to develop his aggressive and snappy style? I just want to see a concrete direction and structure coming out of Faze. They can't rely on this magic all the time if they want something consistent. We can't just keep swapping players, reuniting and breaking up friendships with emotional roller coaster and having the players pop off sometimes because of it. These are S tier players that we have. They need a structure. They need a path to win that they can execute or fail to execute, not to just be put on a roller coaster ride where they sometimes sneak into the semifinals. I don't want to. I don't want to put it down. I'm happy with how things went, but let's lock in, boys. Let's lock in. Let's lock in. Next up, let's talk about Liquid, right? Team Liquid continue to pick up steam as CAC the Asia tournament gets underway. Let's pull that up right here. I hope this pulling up stuff is helping. I'm trying to pull stuff up, give some more cues to follow along with as we develop how this weekly podcast unfolds. So, Liquid fans, this is looking good. CIC has been great for the boys as they continue to pick up steam with this new roster. Interestingly, it's not Elige who is appearing to be the difference maker right now. Don't get me wrong. We're going to circle back on that, right? We're going to circle back on that. But let's take a look at what's going on, right? Historically with Liquid. So Nertz replaced Yakinder on Team Liquid. Nertz was a definite upgrade in teamwork and firepower over Yakinder. Love Yakinder. No hate. But with what was going on at the time, this was a clear upgrade. It was an upgrade. It looked like it was an upgrade. But it left Team Liquid with no true entry fragger. Nertz historically had played lurker in closer positions, and this had Liquid just sort of fumbling about with no one really in entry roles. Well, Nertz was in entry roles, but no one who was happy to be in entry roles. Nertz wasn't doing terribly, but he clearly wasn't the right fit. He spoke positively in interviews. He wasn't down on it, but it wasn't. The draft didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. And that's where Elige comes in. Getting Elige back on this roster makes the team roles look very clear. Elige is taking those entry positions and performing as good or better than Nertz did in them. And Nertz is back to being able to lurk and move around freely as a closer, which is where he's most comfortable. And his numbers have skyrocketed in this tournament because of it. This is a small sample pool, of course, but this is exactly what we want to be seeing as Liquid fans, right? Like, okay, sure, Elige is the bottom. Not that that rating is bad at all, but he's the bottom, you know? And that's fine. He's an entry. Sometimes his numbers are going to be big. Sometimes his numbers are not going to be big. Sometimes he's going to carry. Sometimes he's not going to carry, you know? It is what it is. But Nertz, dude, we all knew before Nertz joined Liquid, he was considered one of the best riflers. And he was on a not great team at the time, Heroic. They weren't terrible, but they were probably a little below where this Liquid is now, or where they were at their lowest. We know what Nertz is capable of putting up against tier 1 teams. The dude is a beast, but he's not looking like it. This Elige trade has the potential, if they play it right, to enable not Elige, but Nertz to really, really pop off and shine. And that is what I'm excited to see. And then you're also going to get Elige pop-offs on top of that. Bottom line, I have high hopes for this Liquid roster. High-ish. You never know. But I have high hopes for this Liquid roster. I'm rooting for them. They're about to make the CAC playoffs. Hopefully, I think they have to play Legacy next. I want to see them deliver on this momentum. Now, we've covered the tournaments. Let's segue a little bit into the Safe Plant MVP of the week. Plants down, rounds 1. This week's Safe Plant MVP goes to Faze Twistzz. Oh, let's get him pulled up here. I'm trying to get some taglines in. I think that was a good tagline. Let me know. They're going to be corny, of course, but hey, that's the biz, y'all. It's the biz. Let's get Twistzz pulled up here. All right, our boy. Look at this handsome gentleman, handsome man right there. Events. Let's get him going. Get him going. Get him going. Right here he is. This is him back in Faze so far. A lot remains to be seen for the future of Faze, but holy shit, does Twistzz look good right now. He averaged a 1.33 rating over the course of this debut event. This is what we want to see. He's clutching, right? He's clutching, he's opening, he's throwing utility, he's getting his trades, he's even entering. What isn't this guy doing? This is what we want to see. This is what we want to see. Let's keep the momentum going when we get Jacob back into the roster and hammer down something consistent. All right, let's go Faze. Twistzz, congrats, bro. Crushing it. And that about wraps up this week's overview of NACS. Next week, keep your eyes peeled as Liquid and hopefully Faze continue into the CAC playoffs. We are going to be touching more on the CAC tournament and Faze next week. You can catch a bunch of awesome games. My recommendations: keep your eyes peeled. Look for Faze tonight at 11 p.m. versus B8. Liquid plays Legacy late Thursday morning at 2 a.m. ESL Challengers continues all week up to the grand finals this Sunday, which I will be watching. I recommend you watch as well. Notable matches before the grand final, though. You got Wildcard versus Marsborn tonight at 9 p.m. We touched on this match earlier. Wildcard Marsborn. This is a rematch of last tournament's grand final tonight at 9 p.m. Wildcard versus Marsborn. And for my Impact game of the week, I highly recommend checking out Ghost vs. Lotus, which is at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, I think. Let's just double check and lock that in. Ghost, such a fire logo, dude. So fire. Elige, our GOAT. All right, let's go. Right, yes. This is tomorrow, right? So Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. All games can be found on hltv.org. There will be links to the streams, and all times that I have stated here are Eastern because we are New York City based. All times are Eastern, and that is it for this week's episode. Safe Plant, over and out.